Da 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 da. Zelig, you remember this? How did this just start? Oy vey. Oy da di da doy. Oy doy da 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 doy 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 doy. Da 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 doy 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 doy. Da da di doy doy. Oy doy da 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 di doy doy. Da 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 do do do. Da da la la la. משהו כזה. Oy doy da 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 doy 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 doy. Do 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 do. Da di da di doy doy. Oy da la 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 da doy di doy. Da da di doy la 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 la. Oy oy na la la do. Oy na la ni la no. Oy doy da la la la. Oy na la ni la do. Oy na la ni la do. Oy doy da 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 da. Oy na la ni la do. Oy na la ni la da. Da 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 da. Oy na la ni la do. Oy na la 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 do. Oy na la la la. Oh no no. Da 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 da. Di da 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 da. Di da do do do. Da 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 di. Di da do do. Di da 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 da. Di da do do. Di da do. Di da do do di. Di da do do. Di da do do. Di da do 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 da i da da da. Di da do do da da do da da i da da i da do di. Di da do do. Di da do do da 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 da. Oh da da oi. Di da do do. Di da do do. Di da 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 do do di. Da 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 do. Di da do do da da i da da. Oi da da oi. Di da do do. Di da do do. Di da 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 do do. Oi. Hey na da di da da. Yum da 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 da. Di da la da 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 da. Oy da da di da do. Yum da da di da do. Da da la da 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 da. Ay yum da da di da do. Yum da da di da do. Di da 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 da. Yum da da di da do. Yum da da di da do. Di da da di da 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 di. Do da do do da di da da. Di da da di da da. Da 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 da. Oy da la da 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 la la la. Doy la 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 da 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 ye da. Bum 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 bum. Last time. Da 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 da. Di da 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 da. Oi, bam bam bam. Di da da di da 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 da. Oh oh oh. Shkoyach, shkoyach. Sorry, everyone. Shkoyach. Thank you so much. No, I feel bad. Okay. Huh?
No.
Right now, yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nidbar. Chaim, a few gilgulim went there, but hopefully something strong came out of it. Okay. All right, so Baruchim Habayim, thank you so much everyone for coming. Tonight, when we learn for the Refuah Shlema of how do you, what's the first name? One second, I'm reading from a piece of paper. Tzipora Ahava Bat Sarah Chana. Tzipora Ahava Bat Sarah Chana for Shlema, and for Aviv Bat Anat. And the Chayelet, and also Leilui Nishmat, our dear friend Shelley's. This is Shelley's grandmother, I think. Leah Bat Yosef Ve'edel, or Udel. Should have an Aliyah. This morning we were saying in Shir that if our davening this morning was the same as yesterday morning, we weren't touched, but to a certain extent, by what happened yesterday, then something's mekulkal inside, something's not working correctly. And I know that we've been so shattered once again, completely shattered, ripped open to 5 million pieces. Specifically here, the Chevra and the Gush. That face of that boy just is stuck in my mamish, right in front of my eyes all day long. Such tmim, such simplicity, such preciousness, such mysterious nefesh. I saw one of the email threads said that this kid's great-grandmother buried a child in a certain war, then she buried a grandson in a certain war, and now it's a great-grandson. It's craziness. Which is exactly why I think this is why we chose to learn what we're learning, what we're going to be learning tonight. We have to talk about Mashiach. We have to talk about Mashiach in a very, very real way, in a very strong way. And there's no better parsha to talk about Mashiach, because this is what Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal to Am Yisrael, to his children. Now we have a concept that says as follows. Whenever a tzaddik says a certain something, even if b'foyal, literally, it doesn't implement itself, it doesn't happen to be that it worked out exactly like the tzaddik said it would be, tzaddik's words always create something, no matter what. Whether they take back what they said, or they don't take back what they said, the power of a tzaddik's words, we say, tzaddik gozer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mekayim. Even the tzaddik, when it comes to Hashem, when he decrees something, God, kivyachol, so to speak, it was mekayim, he makes happen what the tzaddik says. Where do we have a recent incident where the tzaddik, a tzaddik says, actually the same tzaddik we're talking about tonight, where a tzaddik says something, and because he said it, it kind of has to happen. Yaakov, exactly. Yaakov answering his father-in-law Lavan regarding the trofim that were stolen from Lavan, that he is not aware of, that he's speaking about his wife, the daughter of the person he's talking to. And right there, Rashi brings down, right, that this is essentially one of the reasons of her patira, of her, what we would call an early death. Remember, her patira, her death is very, very heartbreaking. Her death takes place while she brings in the last piece of life that she comes out of her in this world, in Binyamin's birth. But in our parasha too, we have something very, very interesting. We all think, this is how we learn the parasha. Yaakov Avinu is on his deathbed. He gathers his children, and he says to them the following, He asfu, ve'agida lachem es asher yikra eschem ve'achris hayamim. Gather together, and I will tell you what will happen in the end of days. And then what does Rashi tell us right then and there? Nistalka mimeno ashchina. He wanted to reveal to them exactly how Mashiach is going to come and everything we'll have to go through and what it will be like. And at that exact moment, the Shechina, which would then be with him to reveal how that's going to go down, nistalek, was completely just ran away from him. But if Yaakov Avinu says that I'm going to tell you how it's going to be, then we've been learning throughout the last few years how he really does tell us how it's going to be. Even though he doesn't say it out the way that we're accustomed to receiving instructions. It's not a manual. It's not an instruction book. But if the tzaddik says, I will tell you something, the tzaddik is going to tell us something, whether we like it or not. Because those words came out of his mouth. That's the koach of the tzaddik. That's the power of the tzaddik. Specifically, Yaakov Avinu, who, like we learned this morning, is known as Bechir Ahavot. The highest, it's not us deciding this, the Gemara says, he was the highest from the others. He embodies both the midot of chesed and gevurah together, thus bringing forth tiferes, and he has the midah of emes, of truth. So if Yaakov Avinu tells us something, so even if Rashi tells us nistalka meno hashchina, so it could be that Yaakov didn't get a chance to clearly detail to us how everything's going to happen, but because he said what he's going to say, this parsha is all about Geula. In a nutshell, to sum up a teaching we did about 4 years ago, we learned that he explained to us exactly what will happen at the end of days, and it's all encompassed in one word. Which word? He'asfu. Get it together. You want to know what's going to be at the end of days? Get it together. Meaning, come together. He'asfu, which means gather each other, and it also means gather yourselves. Just pick up all your broken pieces, put it all in a bucket, and put it in the pot, and put it in the middle of the circle, and once a bunch of siblings get together, and each with their own garbage, put it in the front, and their beauty, that's the way to deal with anything in this world, and that's the way to bring about the great day of Mashiach to come. Very good. Very good. A Fabringen. Absolutely. You know, I was at this bar mitzvah on Thursday night, and I thought, like, I don't really know anyone there. I was someone that my wife is friendly with, their son. I was thinking, I said, I'll go. I have the night. I really did have the night off. There's no excuses. I have to go to a shiur. I have to go to a gig. I had the night off, so I was like, I have to go. And we went. It was, don't mention names where it was, and I'm sitting there, and in walks an old friend of mine, a very old friend of mine who's a Lubavitcher, lives up in Tzfat, and he also barely knew anyone. And we decided, well, he says, let's just do a Fabringen. And we were doing a Fabringen during the speeches, during the and we Fabringed, and we poured it all on the table, and it's true. And we were together, and it was very, very lovely. It was very, very beautiful. And my wife couldn't understand after what she told me. I was waiting for you because it was separate seating also. So my wife was saying to me, you know, I was looking at my phone, wondering, how come you're not texting me the whole night? You're not texting. I'm thinking maybe your phone died, or you got lost, you walked into the wrong hall. I was having a Fabringen. It was coming together, and it was magical. In tonight's piece, this is a very deep piece, okay? This is a very, very deep piece. It's heartbreakingly beautiful. It's a piece that Bezrat Hashem will see the light one day whenever another edition of Evan Shlomo comes out on Bereshis, because this I just worked on today, so it's today and yesterday, so it's not published anywhere yet. And again, it's what an humbling privilege it is to learn something for the first time, since it was taught in 1980 was the first time these words were taught, about 37 years ago. So that's pretty good out. Anyway, to get past these around, and we'll see how far we go with this. Should be 2 pages each, yeah? I'm just warning everyone, this is mind-boggling deep, okay? This is, you have to really, you have to put on those lenses, or I guess turn off those, whatever it is you need to do to get there, like... Joni got? David, you have one, yeah? Yofi. Okay, everyone has, yeah? More or less? Okay. All right, let's go. This is so deep. Sefer Bereshis deals with the creation of the world. That's what this whole Sefer was all about. This first Sefer, which we're bidding farewell to. Shmos, next Shav, not this Parsha, but next Shav. By the way, I cannot believe we're already finishing Bereshis this year. It's never happened. I don't know, but if it's just me, it's never come on this fast before, ever. I haven't had a chance to swallow one word of one Parsha. It's never come on this. I cannot believe we're finishing Bereshis. Simchas Torah was last night. I can't believe it. Crazy. Okay, so again, Bereshis deals with the creation of the world. Shmos is dealing with the redemption of the world. That's what Sefer of Geula is about. Sefer Shmos. We're redeemed from that exile, that lowest pit of exile called Mitzrayim. That's what the Ikar of Sefer Shmos is. You can also say it's Kabbalas Torah, but the part, even receiving the Torah, is taking yourself out of exile. So it's really about a book of Geula, a book of redemption. Now look what he does here. The difference between the creation of the world and the redemption of the world is very simple. In order to create the world, you don't have to go through so much pain. On the contrary, we say that the world was created yesh me'ayin. There was nothing before God created the world. In its essence, this is what creation means, that there was nothing before, and now I'm creating something. That's what creation is all about. Redemption doesn't mean that there was nothing before, and therefore now we are redeemed. To be redeemed means from something. Yesh me'yesh. Gewalt. Do I go through so much suffering in order to be redeemed? Meaning, redemption in its meaning means I can only redeem you from something that's torturing you. If you're not being tortured and I say, hey, come with me, it's not redemption, it's just, I don't know, moving. You know, for some people, moving to Eretz Yisrael is not redemption. Isn't that sad? It's not redemption. It's on a certain level like creation. Oh, there was nothing here, now there's something. It's a very heavy thing. I mean, Baruch Hashem, you're looking at me like I'm crazy because none of you guys feel like that. But rumor has it that does exist. That it's not a redemptive thing, it's just like, I'm moving there. You know what I'm talking about? So here he's just he's fine-tuning the definitions of redemption versus creation. Again, to create the world, there was nothing, now there's something. And to create something doesn't mean you have to go through so much till you finally create something. A redemption is that you're creating something. Something takes place and it's being redeemed from something. We are being redeemed from something. So again, the book of Bereshis is all about what? More or less, the beginning of the creation of the world and the creation of the nation. Okay? But this is the parsha of transitioning. And all women know that period in the labor of transition is the most intense moment of labor. Most intense moment of labor.
Ouch.
So we're kind of in a certain level. We're preparing ourselves for the transition. This is the transitioning parsha. Let's go even deeper. Rabbi Shlomo says in the second paragraph. In order to create, you don't have to be desperate. If I'm talented, I create something. But when it comes to redemption, unless you are mamish desperate, it doesn't happen. What doesn't happen? Redemption. Meaning if you don't really need something, then when it happens to you, it's no big deal. But if you feel like you mamish need something, only then does the term geula, redemption, take place. Now pause before we look at it in the text. I'm asking each and every one of you not to look ahead tonight because it's very deep stuff here. Okay? Please, please, please have patience and we'll go sentence by sentence. Where's Am Yisrael at right now? What scares us from feeling like we're desperate? What prevents us from feeling desperation? Not that I'm going to despair, but desperate. It's a huge difference. Not yeush, but noash. In Hebrew, you would say noash, right? I'm desperate for something to happen. What is stopping Klal Yisrael from declaring a state of desperation?
We feel like we have so much already that we didn't have just 70 years ago. comfort zone.
It's true.
Yeah.
Why is it is it
I mean, it's not.
is this comfortable?
It's not comfortable. But what we know.
The illusion.
What we know is
Right.
more comfortable than change.
You're scared of what will come if you rock the boat.
People become comfortable with what is.
So you think it's just a matter of comfort?
No, well, I'll give you an example. There was a young woman at the Merkaz Klita with her. She came from Belfast, Belfast. And she said when people heard she would make an aliyah, they came and they said, "Are you crazy? There could be a war there any day." And she said, "Look around you. There's a war here every day." But that was already normal to them. They're
Right.
comfortable with that.
Right. Right.
Fear of change.
I want to, but we always say though, this fear of change, don't rock the boat. It's comfort zone.
Also,
Yes.
could it be also a fear of like, if you acknowledge what you're missing, then that becomes real to you.
And then what happens? What's that process?
That's painful.
That's pain.
I mean, that's pain. To see what you're missing, in the world and in your own life is a painful process. And
Right.
you'd rather not be desperate and say everything's honky-dory than allow yourself
To feel the pain.
to feel the pain of what you're
So
missing.
what Zelig is saying is so true. And on the other end, while this is happening, what you're saying, we're so kidding ourselves thinking that we can keep on going on, not being desperate. Meaning, this is a joke already. This is a sad, sick joke. Where's the desperation? So we're wondering, where's Mashiach? And Mashiach is saying, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm calling.
There are too many things yet that we haven't tried to save ourselves. We want integration. We want acceptance from the world. We want because we make things better this way. We haven't given up yet. It was, all else hasn't failed. We haven't finished. I want to make a bumper sticker with a picture of a Sefer Torah that says, "When all else fails, read the instructions." All else hasn't failed yet.
It's funny. I
can't translate that into
that,
Hebrew. I don't know how to say that in Hebrew.
שלא הולך לך כלום, תקרא את how do you say manual? את ההוראות. But I don't know. I think that all else has failed.
Well, it still sounds
What's
crazy.
left?
There's crazy things we haven't tried. We haven't tried it yet. They
Like
all work. But maybe it'll work,
Like what?
That's where we're at. You said, tell me they can't go on. No.
What haven't we tried?
Well, that's the problem. We keep on trying things instead of asking for Hashem to bring the real
We
thing.
what?
Right.
We keep on trying things instead of saying
Exactly.
it's not us.
Exactly.
it's them.
No,
The
it's
trick
right.
is that we could try anything.
And we'll come up with a new scheme, and we'll try that.
No, we have to stop looking for schemes.
We don't have the feeling yet that all else has failed. There's nothing. We can't think of anything else. We keep coming up with schemes.
It's pretty freaky.
Things.
It's pretty
why they
sad.
don't teach Rav Cook in school, that's why.
Right.
Because he's like, here it is, now it, and he was a long time ago already.
Right. And he's saying 80, 90 years ago, it's a gift to be desperate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mamish a gift to be desperate. We look at it as like this, last resort. We tried everything. So in the last resort, let's try desperate. No. We still have something, like Jack is saying, there still must be something else. But it's absolutely, what we're going to be seeing tonight is that it's not even a gift to be desperate, it's a bracha. It's a bracha to be desperate. Let's look back inside. So again, second paragraph, let's go even deeper. In order to create, you don't have to be desperate. If I'm talented, I create something. But when it comes to redemption, unless you're mamish desperate, it doesn't happen. If you're not desperate, you don't need redemption. Creation doesn't need someone before who needs what will be recreated. When God created the world, there was nobody around who needs it. It's not a question of needing or not. Okay? He's just, again, sharpening this concept, or basically the understanding of what Sefer Bereshit was all about. How did it come out into the world? Creation's a bracha, but it's not a bracha to redeem someone. It's a bracha in order to have something. Now, I disagree with the following paragraph completely. So you'll ask me, so why in the world are you teaching it? Okay, look. When God helps me and I make a new nigun, Was someone desperate for a new niggun?
No, not really.
Why not?
Are you crazy?
No.
Jack, you're not a chassid. So you can't. How could you say such words?
There are a lot of nigunim I haven't heard yet. I'm not that desperate for a new one.
You haven't tried everything.
I haven't
see?
tried them
Yeah.
all. There's a lot of nigunim I haven't tried
Right.
yet.
The words were there before. My niggun will be there after. God helps me making a niggun. So mazel tov. It's sweet. Redemption is something else. I would, if I could, I would choose to never publish these words. Because I don't believe in them. Do you understand? He's saying that his place of nigunim are more creations than what? Than redemptions. It's not
He
true.
didn't realize.
Right. I mean, it's
Well,
such...
maybe for him it was just a creation. He doesn't see it from anybody else's perspective.
Because he's too anav to ever say,
humility.
to say that what? That I'm also desperate. And therefore, something through me was created, which is really redemptive.
He's
right?
desperate to let it out.
Right.
That's something
Right,
else.
but he would never even say that.
You said in the shir recently that at the end of New Niggun, he would say, he'd give himself like a yasher koach.
Well, he wouldn't give himself. He would. I said
Acknowledge the-
he would turn to you and say, "Wow, that was a gevald niggun," because it has nothing to do with him. It was just being received. It came down. So if it's you creating, you're never going to say.
So if that's
Do you
his
believe what I
perspective,
just
then
did?
In that
what he's
sense,
saying
it
is
is
Then in
just
that
creation.
sense,
It's just being created.
do you realize what this means? That this is absolute bittul. If you can actually say these words right now, what he just said right now, in the deepest depths, it means that you've absolutely nullified yourself from the story, and you're not caught up at all in terms of doing, being a artist, or whatever that word is. Yeah.
I think that sometimes we realize b'diavad how desperate we were for something when we get it. Like
Right.
I didn't know how desperately I needed that in my life until
Right.
it came into my life.
Nachon.
And then I realized what emptiness there was in that.
Very good what you're
concept
saying.
of that
I want to ask a question on that. So do you think that that's how it's going to work with Mashiach?
I'm clueless about
It doesn't seem like it. No, but it doesn't seem like it. You know why? Because in that case, God could have sent Mashiach a long time ago based on the premise of you'll understand it once it's there. It might be true about like mini geulot in life, about small redemptions in your life, but about what they call a whole ball of wax, the whole picture, I don't think that that's how it's going to work, because Hashem could have done that a long time ago. He could have really said, listen, this dosage it'll only really hit you once you take it in. So I'm just going to give it to you.
Yeah, but you could also meet your bashert when you're 20 or when you're 30 or when you're 40, and the time doesn't really matter. When that happens, then you know what you've really been looking for.
So I want to say two things about that. One is you probably read ahead of the transcript.
I did not.
I know.
I'm a
Second
good
of
girl.
all, though, is that we're not talking about basherts. Mashiach is something else. Mashiach is an end of suffering. Mashiach is where God consciousness fills the whole world. Basherts get married, they have to work their
Very
brains
strong.
out very strongly for a very long time. That's not the Mashiach is something else. Redemption is something else. Okay?
Isn't there a story that Mashiach is here, and once we realize it, he will have been here all along?
I've heard that since I'm like 5 years old, and it means nothing to me.
Really?
But
Isn't
isn't
Yeah, nothing.
Isn't that the terror you just said last week with Vayigash and Bitzer? Isn't that the...
That's the moment of revelation that Yehuda comes up. Absolutely, you also read ahead. That
No,
Yehuda
no,
comes
I
up.
didn't.
No, I'm kidding. I'm speaking to this thing. That Yehuda, exactly. Who's the most desperate person we've met so far in the Torah? Yehuda. Therefore, he's the father of Mashiach, and that's exactly the reason why the Ishbitzer and Rebbe Leibel Eger described that epic meeting as the most redemptive meeting that ever took place until Mashiach will come, stemming from a place of total, utmost desperation. Absolutely. Zelig is right on. Exactly. Okay, let's go weiter. Let's go back. Let's go inside. Redemption is something else. Third line in the third paragraph. In order that there should be redemption, someone needs to be there in order to be redeemed. So in Bereshis, two things are happening. God creates the world, and it's also the creation of the house of Israel. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It's so deep. It's almost what he's saying is that the world was created, and and Am Yisrael was formed only for one reason. What? To be redeemed. We were created to be redeemed. We weren't created to suffer, which I know is a Gidui Eloki by most people. It's a godly revelation. By many people, guess what? Chana Sarah, you weren't created to suffer. Laugh it out. Don't take it personally. Take it utmost personally. You were created to be redeemed. That's what he's saying over here. Okay, the first book of Bereshit is creation. Hashem is putting everything in place, and you have to go through heaven and hell. Sometimes like one heaven and 15 hells until you get there. But however, this is how it's been set up. Now, this is so beautiful. I was thinking about this tonight when I put my girls to shluf. Rabbi Tzadok Cohen says that wherever the Torah says a word for the first time, this is its headquarters. We've learned that many, many times, right? Like the first time the letter Tet comes in the Torah is when? Vayar ta'or ki tov. Tet. Tov has to do with light. That's the headquarters of light. Where's the first time we find tefillah in the Torah? It's a very weird thing. When someone prays for somebody else, when's the first time? Praise for somebody else?
Abraham trying to save
Sdom. Yeah. So whenever it's, by the way, this Yesod, I heard from, I think it was Rav Goldvicht in YU, that this Yesod that's brought down from Reb Tzadok is also brought down by the Gra, by the Vilna Gaon as well. That there's an Inyan here that when you want to learn all about a certain midah, look at where the first time it comes down in the Torah. Okay? Like the first time someone ever answers back to God. So how do we talk back to God? What's our tikkun through that? Well, how did the first person ever respond to Hashem? He responds by hiding. Okay, so you have to understand, like this concept that the first time something happened in the Torah, it's his headquarters. Okay, second line. I might be mistaken, but sorry about that typo. But I think that the first time we find the word redemption is when Yaakov says to Yosef, "Hamalach hagoel osi mikol ra." That means that Avram and Yitzchak didn't need redemption. They just paved the way to build the house of Israel. Now, do we find Avram Avinu desperate anywhere in the Torah? Do we find Yitzchak desperate in the Torah? Yaakov Avinu's whole journey seems to be a journey of desperation. In Vayechi, Yaakov Avinu is paving the way for redemption. This parsha is paving the way for redemption. Why? Because he's seen. He's been a widower. He supposedly has lost a child already in his life. He's been hunted by his brother. He's had to fool his father. He had to run away from home. What hasn't he been through? He fought with an angel. He's gone through it all. He's been in Eretz Yisrael, left Eretz Yisrael, came back to Eretz Yisrael, and now going down to Egypt. Last Shabbos, he's been through it all. And when you've been through it all, and after everything, now we can understand when Yaakov Avinu comes before Paro, what does he say about his life? How does he describe his life? What's that?
Short and bad.
Short and bitter. Pretty bad. Now, if a person is not desperate, what will he answer? I had a good run.
No.
Right. Baruch Hashem. I had a good run. And we think that the frum answer is to say, Baruch Hashem. Everything's okay. I don't know why that
Baruch
became
Hashem is really no answer.
Right.
If we say Baruch Hashem, things can hardly be worse.
Whitewash.
Like I tell you what my Rosh Yeshiva always says, Reb Ravin there, when he asks one of his students how you're doing, he says, Baruch Hashem. He didn't ask you, he says, I didn't ask you if you're from. I want to know how you're doing.
But it doesn't answer the question, because you're supposed to thank God for the bad things that happen to you as well as the good.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. And Baruch Hashem, we're on web yeshivas. I'm happy to have this list to call my Rosh Yeshiva. That's exactly it. So Yaakov Avinu, though, he's paving the way for Geula. He's paving the way for redemption. Avram and Yitzchak are doing different things. Yaakov Avinu is paving the way for Geula. This is what he's talking about between the words He'asfu v'agid alachem and then speaking about Hamalach HaGoel Eloti. He's talking about Geula. He's talking about redemption. So I want you to know something very deep. The world begins with the letter Bet, because Bet stands for bracha. You've seen that in the Sfarim, that the word Bereshit, which formed the whole world, starts with Bet, because Bet, we wanted to start the Torah with the letter of that also starts with the word bracha. There are the brachot of Bereshit, which is what the beginning of the Torah is all about. We're blessed with millions of beginnings. But the last portion of the beginning, meaning the last portion of the first Sefer, right? So the end of the beginning of the Torah, that's where Vayechi is. The end of the beginning of the Torah is also about blessings, but this time it's someone else. The blessings of Yaakov. The last blessings of the book of the beginning is not about creation. It's not about receiving more of something. The last blessing is He'asfu. Do you know what He'asfu is all about? He'asfu is redemption. He'asfu is the brachas meaning He'asfu means that the brachas from the creation of the world should reach you till the very end. Whatever you have should reach you to the deepest depths of your being. I want to explain a little bit in a little bit of a mashal that I think about quite often. I have a very big inner machlokus because I'm crazy about buying new Sfarim. I love it so much. But on the other hand, whenever I bring home a new Sefer, part of me feels a little bit fake. Because I go back to my sifriya, to my library, and I'm saying to myself, do I need these new Sfarim? Now don't kill me. Let me just hear me through, okay? Because obviously I've resolved this, and my bank account could attest to this. I've definitely resolved this, and I keep on buying. But there is a process of what I go through. I say to myself, if I was really tuned into Geula, like mamish for real, yeah? And my Sfarim are just a metaphor. They're just a mashal for what? All the other things that I already have in my life. And that I know that if I would learn how to let the things that I already have touch me in the deepest depths, right? I'd be redeemed. If I already learned that which was already on my shelf, like mamish learned it inside out, then on a certain level, I'd be redeemed. And I was thinking about this, that when he says over here that what Yaakov Avinu is basically telling you is that not that go and learn everything that you already have, but cry to Hashem that you should be desperate to be touched by that which you already have. And that's the Torah of today, because up until 1948, you could say, just got to be desperate to go back to Eretz Yisrael, and that's enough to feel like you're a redemptive Yid. Now it's much trickier. Now we're back. We have the Sfarim on the shelves. But how desperate are you to understand that which you already have? How desperate are we to be attached to that which we already have by sitting over here on, doesn't feel like it, but on the pebbles and rocks that most probably either Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Ruth, or Boaz, or David HaMelech walked on. One of them for sure walked in mamish right over here, without a doubt. One of those people most definitely walked over here. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov this way, David HaMelech also this way, and Ruth and Boaz, right? It's this way. This is mamish that it happened right here. Okay, it's not stam that they call that place up there Sdei Boaz and Neve Daniel. It's not like a cute thing. There's an Inyan that these things happen right around here, right? How desperate are you? And everyone should be blessed with more healthy children. But how desperate are you to taste already that which you already have? It doesn't negate what you want to happen. But it just pushes us to realize we always think there's an Inyan of brachas are more. These brachas from Yaakov Avinu is not necessarily you should have more of something, but it's that you should be connected to that which you already have, and it should give you koach, it should reach you in the deepest depths, and give you koach to last until Mashiach is coming. In fact, it's almost to say that desperation towards the thing which I really have is what brings my Mashiach closer to me in my life. Desperate for that which I already have. Like some people are fine with being desperate to get married, and then they get married and the desperation goes away. What was the desperation before you got married? To find someone or to fix your soul? If it was to find someone, oy vey, it's a bad scene. If your desperation to get married was to fix your own soul, then that never ends. The finding the soulmate, the zivug, is just the beginning of the story. But how desperate are you that which you already have pushes you even more? There are so many people who label themselves as religious Jews that the term desperation and Hashem are only referring to future Baalei Tshuvas. It's so sad. So sad because it takes so much guts to get out of your comfort zone and realize I might have said Asher Yatzah since I'm 10 years old because that was the right thing to say. But when was the last time I was desperate to understand what my relationship to Hashem really is? This is what the brachas of Yaakov Avinu are. This is the brachas of Geula. The brachas of Bereishis says you should have Shabbos. You should have mitzvahs in your life. You should know what a bencher is. You should know what tzitzis are. You should know what lighting Shabbos candles are. That's the blessings of the brachas of Bereishis, of creation. You don't have Shabbos, now you have Shabbos in your life. What's the bracha of Yaakov Avinu? That the Shabbos that you're already keeping touches you in such a way that you could never ever let go of Shabbos, and it gives you koach to bring the great day. So we begin Parshat Bereshit with an incredible story of creation and Hashem, so to speak, placing brachas in the world. But Yaakov Avinu says, in order to make it, boy, do you have to cry your eyes out to be able to be touched and connect to that which you already have. Those are the brachas. That's the geula. That's hamalach. Hamalach hagoy l'simi kol ra. What does the angel really redeem me from? What bad are we talking about? Do you know how bad it is to not lehachshiv? How do you say that in English? Lehachshiv. To take into account the brachas that you have. You know, that's much, much worse than not having the brachas at all. So, you know, you hear what we just said? Being in Eretz Yisrael and not crying over Eretz Yisrael on a certain level might be more damaging to the soul than not even being in Eretz Yisrael. Jumping into the sea of Torah, jumping into learning, and thinking that if you just understand Abaye and Rava, that's enough, or if you know what the Rav says versus what Rav Shimshon Raphael here says, or even if you know also, you know the Baal Shem's Vort, okay, and you can quote Reb Nachman, but you don't feel that the schus that you have Likutei Moharan in your house is enough to cry rivers, then there's something really wrong. You can go to Uman 15 million times. You can say Tikkun HaKlali 85,000 times a day, but that's not a bracha of Geula, it's a bracha of having something. So I have this in my life. But being in touch with it and connected it, and that to bring you to the great day, that's what He'asvu is. What does He'asvu mean? Gather that which you already have. And realize that if you are in touch with all the brachas of Bereishis, the brachas that were already given to you, you are a desperate person for the Geula. And we are desperate. What are we desperate for? To connect to that which we already have in our midst. What else do you think needs to happen? What else haven't we tried? What else do you think is left? 6 million in ovens weren't enough? 4 tzaddikim yesterday, it's not enough? What more do we need to do on any level in order to be attached to that which we already have? And I want to just say, and there's no way in the world we're getting through the rest of this teaching, so you're going to take this home. But I just want to say that this avoda, this is hard work. Now I want to ask you, how does one begin the work of being appreciative and connecting and allowing that which he already has to touch him in his deepest depths, without the need of feeling that something's always new, because it's the new stuff that always gets to us. How do you do that on a tachlis level, on a practical level? How do you let that which you already have in your life touch you? What do you think? I could say a few things, but if anyone wants to say something, I'd be more than happy to hear. How do you do that? Maza? Happy. How do you do that? No, I'm a skim. How do you do that?
That's for me a daily challenge.
No, I know. So, איך עושים את זה?
Gratitude.
So this nikuda is something that we talk about always in our shiurim, in the morning with the men. In order to have a connection to that which I already have, what's the magnet? What brings that which I already have into me? The word thank you, the feeling thank you, the acknowledgement of thank you. Rezoning into, and I'm sure, Meira, that your work that you do is surrounded by a lot of this thing as well. It must be, okay, this is what it is. If I'm able to keep on centering myself, not once a week and not even once a day, Cliff says even a few times a day, that I go a few times a day into that place of breathing in, breathing, zoning, and being aware and conscious and thankful for what I have, that's the beginning. That's the beginning. But this work, you'll see, is, Baruch Hashem, it's endless, but it doesn't become tiring. It becomes redemptive. It's work that when you do it, you feel like you're part of Achrei Sayamim, of what's going to be. But it begins with there. That place of gratitude is where it all starts. Mamish, thankful. Not thankful when, let's talk about us living in Eretz Yisrael, or us that are married. Don't be thankful that you're married when you're out with friends from high school that never got married and then you know you have someone to go home to. That's pathetic. That's what it takes. Don't be thankful you live in Eretz Yisrael when you go to America and you see what American Yiddishkeit is like as opposed to what you have here. That's pathetic. The need to see the other side in order to be thankful for what you have, that's not what's going to bring us to the Geula place. It might make us connect to the brachas of Bereshis, right? The first types of brachas of creation. Wow, thank God I have this. But that's not enough to touch me in the deepest depths till where? Till the end. It's not enough. So it starts in that place of gratitude. Okay? But what happens if gratitude doesn't come so naturally? So there's no way out of it, friends. You have to beg and cry to Hashem over these things. There's just no way out of it. And this is not the simple way out of it. I'm talking about the real deal. Remember the story of Pesach of Kabrin? He was the son of the Heilige Kabriner Rebbe. And he was the son, so everyone thought, he must be a big Rebbe himself, and he's sitting in the Beis Medrash, and they could see that he was there shuckling, but he never changed the page in the daf for like a half a year. So they're like, it can't be that this guy's really like that me'ayin so much in one page for half a year. So they realized he probably doesn't, he's just too embarrassed. And he was too embarrassed to admit that he didn't